What's going on, football fans? It's me, J.R. Clark, coming at you live from the inside of my trucks. Not live for y'all, but live for me. We just got the announcement that Desmond Ritter will not be starting on Sunday, that the team will go with Tyler Heineke, um, as their QB1. And then that starts to bring up an interesting question. Like, it's something I said on Monday's show. If you make the switch to Heineke, what does that say about Ritter's future? Um, the fact that Arthur would not come out and say, yeah, he's my starter if he's healthy, kind of told me all I needed to know. Like, you've given Ritter 12 games, and you see that he has made some progression as far as like the passing game goes, but the fumbling is still an issue. The turnovers are an issue. The um, not being able to score in the red zone is an issue. And I truly believe that the coaching staff is starting to feel some heat, or starting to feel some pressure to perform, to put a quality product on the field. And when you scored 20 points in the half against, against the Titans with Tyler Heineke, I think that opened up a lot of people's eyes, coaching staff included. You hadn't scored 20 points and a half all year. You hadn't scored 20 points and a half with Desmond Ritter at all. So the question now is going to be, you're turning the reins over at least for one game to Tyler Heineke. If he comes out and plays well, you win against Minnesota, even if they are starting Jaron Hall or whoever without Kirk Cousins. Like, do you go back to Ritter? Like, can you go back to Ritter? Unless Heineke goes out there and just, throws a million picks, turns the ball over. You saw what this offense, with the weapons that you have, was able to do with just competent, average, even a little below average quarterback play. So, I mean, Arthur at this point, and that was something that I feared in a sense on Monday. It was like, how can you go back? How can you then turn the reins back over to Ritter? But here's the thing, guys, something that y'all need to, especially for the ones who might be rejoicing that Ritter gets benched, this signals a bigger issue to me. And that bigger issue is that we are still squarely on the QB carousel. Like, Mariota wasn't the answer. Ritter doesn't appear to be the answer. I highly doubt Heineke's your answer long term. He's Ryan Fitzpatrick at most. He's Nick Foles at most. He's going to win you some games. Probably, if they stick with him all year, probably get you into the playoffs. But is he a guy you're going to build around? I don't think so. I mean, I could be wrong, but I highly doubt it. So if that's the case, what do you do? What do you do in the offseason? Who do you try to go after? If you go after a young guy in the draft, what do you do to better support him? What do you do to better prepare him? Do you bring in a guy like Pep Hamilton? Because I get the feeling that, Dave Ragone, I know I'm not trying to lay the blame at Ragone's feet. Please understand that. And like, as far as I don't want him to be necessarily the scapegoat. But my concern is, like, you saw what Will Levis did up there in Tennessee. Who does he got backing him up in a sense of getting him ready? Charles London, the guy that was here. So that really then shines a spotlight on, like, how these guys are getting Desmond Ritter ready. Like, I don't necessarily think that Arthur Smith is in there every day with the QB. That's why he has Dave Ragone. That's why I'm looking at Dave Ragone. So if you bring in a young guy via the draft, or, say you make a trade for Justin Fields, or whatever your, wild dream or fantasy is for QB going forward, what are you going to do to support him? That's my question. Because as it stands right now, it doesn't necessarily look like Ragone is a great QB coach. He didn't have a great track record in Chicago with Trubisky and all that. And So far, it doesn't look like he's having a great track record here in Atlanta. So if you like Ragone and you like his ideas and you want to keep him on staff, then keep him on staff. But maybe you hire a better QB coach, somebody who has a better track record of developing QBs. And for all those who want to run Arthur Smith out of town and are champion Ben Johnson or whatever, what gives you the confidence that Ben Johnson is going to be a great head coach? If Eric Bieniemy is going to be a great head coach, well, you don't know. Like when Arthur Smith was hired, he was hired with one of the top offenses in the league. He was the hot name that year. So don't just automatically think that bringing in Ben Johnson, bringing in Eric Bieniemy, bringing in insert name here is going to be the solution. I still think that Arthur Smith can turn it around. Yes, we call him arrogant. Yes, we call him stubborn because of some of the decisions he makes, but he's showing a willingness to be more flexible. Keep that in mind. They're not as tight end dominant as they have been. They've been using a lot more 11 personnel lately. He is making a switch earlier than he did last year from Mariota to Ritter, now Ritter to Heineke. So I'm not saying that that Arthur is the answer, but be careful what you wish for, because at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, the Raiders just cleaned house. They get to start over again with somebody else because they thought Josh McDaniels was the answer, and he turns out not to be. The players seem to still be supporting Smith. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're trying to run them out of town, because these guys are still trying to get their feet under them, so to speak, figure it out, so to speak. Who knows, man? All I know is I don't want to end up like the Browns, like Jacksonville, like the Raiders, and be in QB and coach purgatory, which looks like that's where we're headed, especially if they clean house by the end of the season. All right, that's what I got for y'all today. Definitely want you to put y'all's thoughts in the comments down below. We appreciate y'all's support. And as always, Falcons fans, rise up.